Welcome back on into the baseline alongside Chris Smith and Travis Wilson. I am Colton Wilson. Fellas, is this episode 20? 21. We've hit the 20 mark. So we've been doing this now for 6 months, 7 months.
You got to get better at math.
We started in November. 7 months. Right?
26 weeks would be half of a year.
Yeah. As always, here on the baseline, our presenting sponsor is Bound. Head on over to boundwisconsin.com and you will see right now we're covering baseball and girls soccer. Hat tricks, not trick shots. Hat tricks are being recorded over on Bound, as well as no hitters in baseball. The high school sports season is never ending, so head on over to boundwisconsin.com.
Do we have a running total of no hitters in Wisconsin at this point again?
Yep.
Any new ones?
New ones this week?
Yeah.
Monday night, no. But from last week, I'd bet there was 15 to 20. I don't have that up in front of me right now. I'd imagine we're at... I got 9 sheets worth on a Google Doc. So
guys just
pages.
Slinging it.
Yeah. And that's with the amount of postponements that we get in April too. So
there's been a lot of trick shots, I tell you. I have not updated the last day or two of last week, but there was 130 or 140 hat tricks in girls soccer heading into the latter part of last week. So I didn't anticipate how big that list would be, to be honest with you. It's gotten pretty big, but that's still impressive nonetheless. There's, I think, 4 or 5 girls that have had 6 goals in a game this year.
What is the most goals scored in one game by anybody? Do we know that number?
I've seen 8 or 9 before.
I don't know it offhand, but I do know that the Wisconsin Soccer Coaches Association does have a record book on their site. I believe John Burke has kept that up really well over the years, so we certainly could find that out.
Fellas, tonight on the episode, we interviewed Oostburg Girls Basketball Head Coach, the 2026 WBCA Girls Basketball High School Coach of the Year, Isaiah Ketterhagen. Great interview. We kept him for about an hour, which we actually didn't even get into the topic that we wanted to. You know, he was very forthcoming. Great interview. Another really good coach that is willing to open up, talk hoops, everything with us.
Yeah, I think we've been a little spoiled in that regard, where coaches are coming on and just being completely transparent and honest about things, where sometimes people can get a little political with things and try to, walk around certain topics. But everybody, so for the most part, that we've had on the show has been really great about just opening up and being honest and talking about their story and their journey and what it means to them. So tonight was no different.
Yeah,
they have been awesome. We haven't asked them to break down how they defend side ball screens or how they signal in side or baseline out of bounds plays or anything like that yet, though. So.
Yeah, the hoops talk has gotten a little bit more philosophical than it has between the lines, so to speak. But you don't want to miss that episode. That's going to come up right after our intro, right after we get into a few news topics. And we got a starting 5 that, Oostburg went 30-0 this last year, so our starting 5 is topical. After that interview, stick around. We are drafting the starting 5 of girls basketball teams single season in the state of Wisconsin since the year 2000. So we don't know we haven't recorded that yet. Don't know how it's going to go, but stick around. You'll want to see that. Fellas, in news this week. Oh, before we get into news this week, Chris, should we tell them the news? Should we tell them our news?
We have news?
It's so big,
hip.
It doesn't even know what you're talking about.
We're hip now.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been hip.
Well, you got a bad hip.
All right. That's not what I was getting at. But, yeah, go ahead.
The baseline is on TikTok. The TikTok channel is live, run by 3 30 and 40-year-old dudes.
Well,
not run by
Travis
me.
Travis is not a part of it. He doesn't even know how to spell TikTok, I don't think. So it's something I do think it's something that's a lot of fun. It's a good way for us to get some key clips out into the social media world. We're doing a pretty good job of doing that on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. But I think it's just another platform where we can start to hopefully reach some younger people and get some of this coaching talk out to a different avenue of people.
Different audiences. So the baseline is on TikTok, and it is at I believe our channel is the Baseline Banter Pod. Head over to TikTok, subscribe, like. Don't they say like leave a comment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it the Baseline Banter Pod?
Sorry, just Baseline Banter Pod.
Okay.
Trav will get subscribed after he downloads the app tonight.
Nope.
Yeah, but we have a handful of videos on there now, and continue to add to it every single day as we create more content. So hopefully that's another enjoyable way to listen in on what we're doing.
Yeah.
People can only take us in small increments anyway, so TikTok's like the perfect platform.
I agree.
Fellas, in boys news this last week, 2 days after we interview him, Coach Ferget of Lacrosse Central was named the WBCA Executive Director. So before we really get into anything, a big congratulations to him. Excited to see what he and the rest of the WBCA, what direction he's going to take the org.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good direction. Coach Ferget, I've got a chance to know, especially the last few years. I think it was 2023 he came on the executive board as a liaison to the WIAA, and had a chance to work with him on a number of items and topics on the WIAA seating committee, lots of different things. And as people saw in our interview last week, Coach Ferget is very passionate about basketball and about the things that he is involved in, and also very much a process and driven person that I think will bring excellent vision, organization to the WBCA and continue, as he said in the quote that he had in the release that went out, continue the great work that Coach Pettigrew did for so many years as the executive director of the WBCA. So looking forward to continuing to work with Coach Ferget on WBCA related items. And I think a great hire for what faces the sport of basketball and the WBCA and coaches in the coming years.
Yeah, the passion and the drive that Coach Ferget has in regards to high school basketball is almost second to none, right? And the things that he continues to do, not only as a coach working with high school kids, but now as the executive director, I think he's going to do even better things for the game of basketball in our state.
Yeah, fortunate that he came on. A couple recruiting notes. Jake Hansen, who was a state champ out of Tosa West a couple years ago, he was at Oklahoma. He's transferred back to Milwaukee. Milwaukee's now got, I think, 7 guys on their roster that are from the state. So a lot of homegrown talent playing down in Milwaukee. Love to see it, because I think there's been a couple years here in recent memory, at least, where, there hasn't been a whole lot of kids from the state at Milwaukee. So good to see 7 or 8 guys, including a couple transfers back, that are going to be suiting up for the Panthers.
Coach Lundy has really done a great job there, getting them back to being a competitive program and being more competitive in state with recruiting both high school guys. I mean, to get Amari Herford there is a coup for that program, and then to get some really good players coming back from the portal, an outstanding job. And Shaka Smart has done great things at Marquette. Greg Gard, my favorite coach in college basketball at Wisconsin. Doug Gottlieb has really gotten things turned around at Green Bay. So all 4 men's programs really, in a good spot and trending in the right direction. Marquette a little bit down last year, they've kind of hit the portal for the first time, bringing some guys in. So hopefully they'll get things turned around. And again, all 4 programs in a good spot with good leaders at the top.
Yeah. Kadra Knipple out of Wisco. We've talked about that program at length, but he picked up 3 huge offers this last week in Duke, Michigan, and Texas A&M. That's some big gets as far as scholarship wise this last week for the second of the Knipple brothers.
Yeah, and we'll see where things play out. Obviously, I think there's an opinion that Duke will be hard to beat. That continuing that legacy that Kahn left, and there's a lot of opinion that might be where he ends up. But we'll see. There's a long ways before he might be looking at committee, and who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if he wants to create his own pathway or if he would like to stay along the lines of following his brother's footstep. But I think it's more along what he believes is the best direction for him to continue to grow in the game of basketball. And let's be honest, I mean, getting himself to the next level, right? So like that's what they're all playing for in the present, is what they want to win, obviously, but at the same time they're trying to continue to better themselves and create more opportunities.
Yeah, our last topic on the boys' side is another extremely talented player out of the 2027 class, Freedom's Donovan Davis. Decision coming Wednesday. I believe the final 5 is Madison, Iowa State, Nebraska, and Marquette. So another big prospect out of the state that's going to make his decision this week.
Yeah, he's quite the talent and somebody who's a lot of fun to watch. Being friends with Coach Gibbons, personally, I get to hear a lot of stories about Donovan, and it's not just about him as a basketball player, but about him being a tremendous human being and a great young man who was raised the right way and just does things in a way that you hope that every person kind of portrays themselves to be, right? I know my son is going to be ready and willing to listen to see where he ends up. My son is a huge fan, and he's even had to get Freedom Irish gear sent to him from Coach Gibbons, and he's got his Donovan Davis basketball card, and he loves Freedom. He even told me that if he had the opportunity to go and play for Freedom in high school over Hartford, he would do that. And I was like, dang, man, you're gonna throw old dad under the bus like that? And he's like, well, Dad, Donovan Davis goes to Freedom, so
that right there is Baldwin. That right there is the beauty of just what the younger generations see in these high school kids. Like,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, the day after he got that T-shirt from Coach Gibbons, he wore it to school. So he was Irish pride there through and through.
That's awesome. Trav, we had some girls news this past week.
Yeah, pretty big coaching news, especially on the girls' side. The off-season coaching carousel continues. We're approaching 40 known changes already. That number is probably higher with some that we haven't heard about yet, and obviously will continue to grow as it's been pretty consistently 75 to 100, a lot of times closer to 100 girls coaching changes every single year. Not often that you see a defending champion state champion coach step down, but that's the case for John Schneider at Whitefish Bay. Outstanding run, obviously won a Division II state title. They've been solid, and just time for him to step down. He's got a young family. He's got a daughter, I'm not sure. I think he said a daughter that's really young, and really young family, and just time to spend more time with the family. Went out on top, but we've seen it a number of times. Eventually, a lot of those guys and gals get back into it at some point, but big news there with a state champion coach stepping down. Staying in kind of that Whitefish Bay realm, right? Kevin Schramka steps down at Dominican, had a very successful run, 15 years or so there, and former All-State player at Dominican, Daisha Smith-Jenkins, will take over as the head coach at Dominican. So kind of girls basketball related coaching news. Chris Morgan, who's been a outstanding coach at Laconia in girls basketball, accepted the head football coaching job at Laconia as well, which I thought was pretty interesting. Don't often see girls basketball and football head coach, and I mean we don't see anymore boys basketball and football head coach like we used to see it a little more commonly. But yeah, Chris Morgan staying on. I mean, he's not leaving as the girls basketball coach, but he's added football coach to his busy workload as well.
Yeah, I wonder how many coaches are out there just simply about coaching both a girls and a boys program. At the same time, I think that is a very unique situation because I don't really know too many.
It's fairly common in like soccer where people coach boys and girls.
Track and cross country too.
But talking about, well, in golf, it's very common as well. But where they coach the boys and girls, but I'm talking about different sports, boys and girls. I feel like that's a very unique type situation.
Yeah,
I would agree. Our last bit of news.
There was one of the more well-known ones was Coach Pickert's, who was what he win 500 plus volleyball matches in his career and had several hundred basketball wins as a coach as well. That's one of the more probably well-known ones.
Last bit of news, and this is something that's a little bit alien to me, but it was big news, culturally within the basketball and the hoops landscape in our state. The event down at Wisconsin Lutheran, that place was packed, by the way, just absolutely loaded to the gills. RWE comes into town and they played Team Harrow. I believe Jumpman Jimmy Elite was there. Guys, were these? It obviously wasn't part of an AAU event. This is more of like a showcase.
Yeah, I'm not really exactly sure. Being a high school teacher, I really didn't even know. Maybe Travis, I'm trending towards the older stage now, I guess, but I didn't really know exactly what this whole thing was initially. But I had some students and some of my players actually bring it up on YouTube and showed like the tryout for it and explained to me who Cam Wilder was and what RWE does and what they're trying to do. And I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. Like it's almost like the Harlem Globetrotters coming to town and going to play an exhibition game against somebody. But yeah, no, it was an interesting event. Obviously, young people are very drawn to something like this because the gym was packed in the video and during the game. So it was a successful event by all means, I guess.
Yeah, I had no idea who Cam Wilder is. My son told me something about it because we were in Milwaukee area this weekend for his AAU program with Wisconsin Hoop Select playing in the Cream City Collision. The clips I saw, there was some competitive basketball, but there was also a little bit of and one mixtape-ish feel to it almost. So yeah, interesting. Not the world that we live in terms of education-based high school athletics, but very much so in what the kids are big into and excited about, especially on social media nowadays.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, it's not necessarily in our sphere of what we do, or not even what we do here on the baseline, what we do, with our work lives and with our coaching lives. But you fill Wisconsin Lutheran College like that, like the kids love that. They bought it, they buy it, they love it. So it's something that I wanted to touch on just because it felt like it needed to. It happened in our backyard, and it was something that made its rounds on social media. So,
yeah, it's definitely. I told you before, right? Like the video itself was like uploaded a few hours ago, and it already had like 75,000 views on YouTube. So it's a big deal that a lot of people watch.
Yeah, and that group that played was that Team Hero group. That is, that came. Did they finish runner up at the Peach Jam last year?
Yep.
Right. Lost in the championship game, but that's got, Dooney, Johnson, Donovan Davis, Kedra Knippo, Jack Conan, Deuce McDuffie, and the list goes on and on. That is a loaded club team. Well, we're going to hop off here and we're going to kick it over to our interview with Coach Ketterhagen. Remember to stick around because after that, we are going to do our starting 5 of girls basketball teams in the state since 2000. All right, we are joined here on the baseline with another great and special guest. We've got the 2026 WBCA Girls Coach of the Year and the coach of the 2-time defending Oostburg Flying Dutchman girls basketball team, Isaiah Ketterhagen. Coach, appreciate you taking the time out, spending your Monday night with us here on the baseline.
Oh, thanks for having me. I think it's fun to talk to you guys, and looking forward to this conversation. And that was a really cool introduction. And I would be saying it takes a village. So we have one heck of a staff. We've got some great players and one heck of a community. So you put all that stuff together with our school district, and it's a good recipe for success.
Yeah, Coach, this past year was one to remember, not only for you, the community of Oostburg, but just in the state in general. Your group went 30-0. You repeated as D3 state champs. And something that we talked a lot about on this podcast throughout the year was just the impressive nature of your regular season and your playoff run and everything that it culminated with, which ended in that gold ball. So just for numbers' sake, because Chris has talked about how he's a numbers guy, Travis brought these numbers up before, just looking at it on tape or on the computer screen, right? Your opponents that you played went 581 and 267. The teams that your group beat this year, you beat the D1 champs, the D2 champs, the D2 state runner-ups, the other 2 Division I state qualifiers, a D4 state team, and then obviously the 2 D3 state teams that you did this year. So that is one heck of a resume if we're talking just programs to beat in a single year.
Yeah, that I saw a tweet. I think it was actually by you, Travis, about that whole spiel. And when you kind of read it, it's cool. It's really cool to be part of that. Cool to be part of the conversation. When we put that schedule together, we knew that we were going to be good, and we lost 3 seniors last year. And 2 were really important pieces in Aubrey Van Ness and Jordan Lentz, and one in Kaylee Schmidt, who was didn't play a lot, but she was one where she was really cool with seeing the younger kids kind of pass by her on the bench, and her being a senior. There's a lot of seniors that take that and they ruin chemistry and they become toxic. And she knew her role, and she was one heck of a senior doing that. When we lost Jordan and Aubrey, we knew we were going to have to replace a little bit, but we knew we had some really good pieces coming back. And then when Soraya Benton open enrolled to Oostburg, that was kind of like a culminating piece for us. We had Taylor Brasser, who came back from 2 knee different injuries. She was kind of like a freshman for us this year. So we knew she was going to grow as the season went. But I got together with our AD and I got together with my coaches beforehand. I said, hey, we have some non-cons we can pick up. So we went out and we reached out to Arrowhead. We reached out to, we were part of the Kettle Moraine and the Brookfield Central tournament. So I knew that they'd set us up with 2 good opponents there. But we had a contract with Beaver Dam. We went out and got Whitefish Bay, went out and got Wisconsin Lutheran. And I know I'm missing a couple other ones in there, but it was really cool that they wanted to play us. I think a lot of those D1s, you kind of look at it like, well, what's it going to do for us? And I think no matter what, you're going to have the ability of us in a similar situation where we're asked to play somebody, and what is it going to do for us? But in the end, if you look at it, it's going to help both teams. If you know both teams are going to be good, it shouldn't matter the division. I don't know what WIA does with that whole equation or whatever it is, but we knew it was only going to get us better. And we had talked early on because our first 5 games, we replaced Winneconne with Laconia, and we thought that was going to be good for us. So we started off with Appleton East and Winneconne, and then we went into the Brookfield Central tournament, and we figured out we were going to be playing Notre Dame. And then, hey, Riley, can you call Tia? All right, call her. Sorry, I got my phone blowing up here, and really, it's only my family. So, anyway, we had Notre Dame at the Brookfield Central tournament, and then we were supposed to be playing Pewaukee, and that's one that got snowed out at Kellam Rain. So we logistically thought, we might go ahead and we might start our season 2-2, 2-3, because then we went to Wisconsin Lutheran, we went to Whitefish Bay, and all of a sudden, it was after that Whitefish Bay game where we kind of had a coaches meeting. We said, oh, okay, I think this is going to be pretty special. And I know Pewaukee went through an injury, but we figured out Pewaukee to come play us at our gym, and we played really well. They were just off that injury for their ACL, their big kid. Well, we lost her, or they lost her, and we took Pewaukee apart. I think we beat them by about 30. And then we went into Arrowhead, and when we won that one, it was okay. I think it's ours for the taking now. So it was, when you look back on it, it was pretty special. And there's no other way to say it. Like I got to have a heck of a year with all 3 of my daughters, with Addie and Riley and Kinsley. They walked out not only back-to-back state champs, but undefeated. They walked out with an unbelievable season. And I still get to come back with another one. And Tia, who wants to be a water girl every now and then when we're cool enough. Otherwise, she goes and sits in the middle school section. So we got some cool stuff. It's fun.
Coach, you mentioned some of the incredible, especially non-conference games that you had this year. You performed obviously very well, went undefeated in those. Some of them were, 20-plus point victories. And then you also had, obviously, conference games still where, a number of those were blowout running clock type victories. One of the key things that coaches talk about is performing at a high level night in and night out, no matter who you're playing. Did you see any of, okay, we played Arrowhead one night, the next night we're playing a conference team that is quite a step below? Was there any let up from your kids, or did they keep the pedal down the entire time, no matter who they were playing?
Yeah, it's a great question. We knew we were going to run into all that stuff. Our motto was let's get better. Let's get better every night. Let's not. I don't want you looking at the scoreboard. You let the coaches figure that stuff out. Whoever's on the floor, it's varsity basketball. Let's go play. We can control defense. We can defend, even if it's a half court or inside the 3-point line. We can take a lot of pride in not letting them score. And you know what? Those kids that come off the bench and play, it's their time to shine too. So telling them not to play or not to get better, I think is just wrong. And I've been on the other side plenty of times when I coached for the Ozaki boys, and there were some rough nights. I remember those. So it sucks being on that end. But I think that's the biggest thing is night in, night out. We talked about let's get better. We have goals. After that Whitefish Bay win, we got together as a team, and that's when we decided it's gold ball or bust. So I think we didn't talk a lot about it beforehand. I didn't want the pressure to be there. So we kind of took the elephant out of the room after that game, and we said, all right, we're undefeated right now. We got some big ones coming up, but it's kind of ours for the taking. If we don't do it, we're not being true to ourselves. So I think we got all the girls on board, and that was a big step. That was a really big step for us because I could use that to get everyone on board and say, hey, remember what we wanted. Remember what we all wanted. This is how we get it. This is how we get better. And conference games, there were absolutely a struggle. We played our tails off in the first half, and then we did. We took the foot off the pedal a little bit in the second half, and we subbed a lot. And we had times where our starters were only playing 18, 19 minutes a game, because it just wasn't right. It wasn't getting them better. So we had to get our 6 through 10 really good. So I think that's what we kind of use those for. There was absolutely some down moments, but I think overall our leadership with Addie and Riley were our captains, along with Macy Brugink. And Macy wasn't a loud vocal leader, but she kind of did everything by example. I got stories for you with her. You wouldn't believe Macy Brugink and the things that she would do at practice and even games. She just loves competing. But Addie and Riley, they were kind of the floor generals where it was it wasn't going right, and they would come over the sideline and yell at me, and I said, well, go handle it, go take care of it. So they did a really good job. So I think a lot of that kind of took its course. I think the one game, which was kind of weird, that most of the state saw, was the first half against Mosinee. That was the one game where it was like we got punched in the mouth. Our shots weren't falling. It felt clunky, and at halftime was really something special because we came out on a 14-0 run, and then I was just excited because I wanted the state to get to see what I got to see every day in practice throughout the whole season. It was like, hey, this Mosinee game, and they played really well. Nothing against Mosinee whatsoever. They had a great game plan. They took it to us. They took advantage of the situation. But I really wanted to get to that state championship game because I knew the state would get to see what I saw every day. You could just tell we had to get through that game in order to feel comfortable, play loose, and that's what we did in that state championship game.
Yeah, Coach, what was your locker room like? I mean, I know like you talked about the different types of opponents that you had throughout the season. Obviously playing some top tier opponents, but then also, some other games where you talked about your starters only playing, about 18 minutes a game, which is about half of it, right? How did your locker room, I guess, deal with those different types of games? Was the mood always the same in the locker room before and after games, or did that kind of change depending upon the opponents?
Yeah, I kind of smiled when you said, was it always the same, and did it change? Chris, we're talking about 15 and 16 and 17 and 18-year-old girls,
Yeah.
Young women. So that's why I smiled there. We never knew what we were going to get. It was something where we had conversations beforehand with the girls in the middle of the game. Just come and tell me, hey, you ain't feeling so good. And we had girls coming right and left and like, Coach, I don't feel so good. Got it. Take care of yourself, do your thing. And we wanted to know that stuff because we thought that stuff's important because, playing with all kinds of woman stuff that they have to go through that us guys have no clue, and play at a high level. It's something that a father of 4 daughters, I get to experience throughout all kinds of parts of the day. I tell Sarah, there's going to be plenty of times where I come home on a Friday after school and I say, I'll see you Sunday. Like, I'm not doing this for a weekend. But we get to do that for all of these 14, 15 kids. And then you talk about the whole program. By the end of the basketball season, their schedules are all the same. So I think, whether one girl's playing too much or too little, or they're not scoring, or my shot's not falling, or I broke up with my boyfriend, or so-and-so is here, or, all the things that I think we consider stupid. It's like the most important part of their day right at that time. So that's a lot of non-basketball talk that I bet you thought we were never going to get into. But basketball wise, we had routine where halftime would happen. We'd all go in. My classroom is right off the gym, so I got a really perfect scenario where we go to my classroom. I got a huge whiteboard. We go in, the girls go in. I have all kinds of snacks and drinks for them so they can kind of replenish and do what they need to do. And then the coaches kind of have a meeting. And by the time we come in, it gives them a chance to talk about stuff of whatever they want to talk about. If they want to talk about, we don't even know what they talk about. So then we come in And we generally go ahead and we make one adjustment offensively and we make one adjustment defensively. It's kind of the same thing for pregame stuff. I walk into some opposing locker rooms and I see all these, the whiteboard is just chock full of stuff. Well, shoot, I don't care if you're a teenage girl or a teenage boy, they stop listening to you probably about 2 minutes. You got about 2 minutes of focus time, and then they're done listening to you. So we take those 2 minutes of halftime when we come in, we focus on one offensive piece, one defensive piece, talk about getting better. Everyone be a star in your role. Let's go and do those things. It worked for us, and I think it worked for us because we got really good players, and we have really good staff. But I think I don't know if that works for everybody. I think if my team was terrible, I would do the same thing. Like, hey, what's one thing we can focus on? Because let's get better at that. It's easier for me to say that for sure because we were very successful, but it worked for us. And we had some kids that really latched onto that. So our halftimes are always different because we never knew what we were going to get, but our routine was always the same.
Coach, you mentioned Addie and Riley and Macy being those leaders in your locker room, leading by example, leading by, holding teammates, holding yourself, holding just everybody accountable within your program. And one thing I've noticed, and probably everybody notices, is the best basketball teams, the best teams, especially at the high school level, they're led not by the coaches, they're led by the young adults, the student athletes that are in the locker rooms. How big of a factor is it having leaders on the floor in the locker room that are players?
Yeah, it's really beneficial, and that's something that we took advantage of. So Addie and Riley and Macy did a great job leading on the floor, and it was a lot of the times where we were a veteran team at this point. We had Soraya coming in that had to learn some things for sure, but other than that, it was, part of that is we have a staff that was really open to their ideas, and there was plenty of times where we just called actions, and after the first and second action, it was like play basketball. We were able to do that, and I think a lot of the times when we had our timeouts, it was more so. Again, it was one focus point. All right, let's focus on this, and then it was like we were kind of done talking. The girls kind of took over our huddles and talked about those sorts of things. So I think it's a little bit of a mixture of all of that, but we're gonna really miss Addie and Riley. Leading by leadership and their voice, and Macy by example. I can't tell you how many coaches came up pregame or even afterwards and said, man, where can I get a number 10? And then that was Macy's basketball number. And I said, the stories I could tell you about this girl, she doesn't like basketball. She really doesn't. She hates basketball. She hates scoring. So, you get those two things, and then she comes back and she just loves to compete. She hates to lose. So I can work with that. So, a couple side conversations with Macy, and like, Macy, we only need you to score here and there. We need you to show teams that you want to score, that you will shoot the ball. And then she would cut me off, be like, Coach, I don't need to though. Like we play. And then she would say a team name, and she goes, Coach, I don't need to score tonight. We're good. I'll just play defense and I'll do my thing. Got it. And you knew that when we got to the Whitefish Bays, the Arrowheads, when we started regionals, I took her aside and said, Mace, now we go. You need to miss 5 threes. She's not going to miss 5 threes, but she's going to take at least 6 then, which essentially she doesn't take 6. But if I get her thinking that way, that's a really helpful thing. So I later talked to her dad, middle of the season, good guy. He goes ahead and we were talking, and he says, I just want her to shoot more. And he would be screaming from the stands, show that. And I would tell him, his name is Ryan. I'm like, Ryan, don't ever tell her that again. Don't you dare tell it. Like, we got a system in play here. And then one time she went up to him and she goes, Dad, I don't need to shoot. She goes, I made my first 3. He goes, so? She goes, I average 3 points a game. I don't need to shoot anymore. So that's Macy. A couple of things about Macy that no one else knows is she's one heck of a gymnast. So she'll go ahead and we'll be doing something new in practice. and she'll be doing cartwheels, cartwheel round-offs, back handsprings in the corner. She'll be doing handstands. I'm not lying, no lie. So all of a sudden, you kind of get to some new stuff, and it's like, Macy! And she comes over, and then she's all ears. But if we didn't allow her to be her, she would have checked out. And it was just little things like that she led by example, because she was she was unbelievably athletic and one of our defensive cogs. So just little things that no one else knows about, but everyone else in the Oostburg locker room and on the team, they just kind of said, that's Macy. I have a picture. This is great. I have a picture us at the Resch right before the state championship game. I'm giggling in the corner. Macy's doing a handstand. That's her warm-up. She's doing a handstand right in the hallway, and I'm just giggling because I know Macy's ready. She's doing a handstand. So we had that type of leader, and we had Addie and Riley that led by example, led by voice, led by play. And I know they're my kids, but those two, they don't know how to lose. And when they do lose, man, oh man, you're going to run into a buzzsaw the next day. So those three, in every way, shape, and form, we're going to miss a ton for leadership, for the figurative name of a captain. They were truly captains for us. So yeah, we'll miss them a ton.
Coach, this is a question I'm sure you've gotten many times. Chris is starting to get into that age where he's coaching his kids. I've got 2 high school boys that I've coached since they were 8 years old in football, basketball, baseball. What is the dynamic like coaching your kid in general, coaching 3 of your kids on the same team, coaching 3 kids that are highly successful, highly driven, and as you said, highly motivated to be successful? What is that dynamic like on the court and at home?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a really long answer question. I've been giving you guys long answers. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm rambling here.
Hey, we're interviewing you. That's the point.
All right. Well, I just want to make sure you asked for it. Okay. So it took me a little bit. Freshman year was interesting because my number one job was to make sure when Addie and Riley walked in as freshmen that we had to figure out chemistry, that I wasn't pushing my kids on everybody. And 100%, I knew that they were starters on the team. I knew that they were going to contribute a ton. I knew that they were going to, play like they can. But I had to figure out how to get the juniors and seniors, especially the seniors, to say, hey, you got this freshman coming in, and you might not be as good as them, and you might have to take a back seat for a little bit. So what we did is we kind of called a week of tryouts where we don't know who's going to be who and that sort of thing. So I kind of dipped my toes in the water, probably a little bit too long. And then when Kinsley came around, I ripped the Band-Aid off because I was done dancing around other people's egos and dancing around maybe parents that I would be upsetting and kids that I would rub the wrong way, because I get to be around these kids, Addie and Riley and Kinsley, all day, every day. I get to see their workouts. I put them through their workouts. I chase and run them around all summer long. The travel that we do is unbelievable. So I get to see all of these hours, and I think, what am I trying to please people for who aren't doing the work? And I'm okay saying that now. It took me a while to get there. I didn't want to be pushing my daughters on everyone. But at that time, by the time Kinsley hit freshman year last year, I think we all know who's who, and I think we know who can play. And if you disagree, stay out of our way, and you don't have to come back. And I think we kind of took a hard line like that. I think that helped. I think it kind of pushed a couple people the wrong way. And then, I mean, that's why we're coaches, right? So you have to figure out how to handle that situation and this situation. And so we did that. But for the most part, boy, oh boy, the body of work took care of itself. So I would say that part was on the court and the play. At home, oh man, I don't know. So I will tell you, every night we got home, like we would win by 20 or 30, right? We'd come home, I'd have one kid that maybe went off for 24 and 10 and 4 assists and whatever. And then I had another kid that went ahead and had 12. And I had another kid that had 8, but she did this, that, and the other thing. So then it's all of a sudden you go ahead, you have one heck of a game, you come home, and it's like one goes that way, one goes that way, one goes that way. And I come in, and my wife is sitting on the couch, and she goes, "How's it going?" I go, "It's like we lost by 30. I don't know what the heck's going on here." So then my whole rest of the night is going from one bedroom to the other bedroom to the other bedroom. Well, not 3, because one of them played really, really well, and one of them is like top notch. So that one goes ahead. She's in the kitchen. She's hanging out. She's eating snacks. She's giggling. It's all good. And the other one's in the bedroom. The other one's downstairs. It's like, oh, man. So then you go ahead and you coddle that one and support that one. And then you go to the other room and you coddle and support that one. And I'm telling you, it was probably anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of supporting, trying to figure out. And what a lot of people don't get is they're so darn competitive, but at the same time, they all have these tags on them that they're these D1 players, and they're supposed to score this many points, and they're supposed to have this many rebounds and this many assists and blah, 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 blah. So when one of them does it and the other 2 don't, now they got to go to school with those kids. And some of the comments that they get were like, "Oh, why aren't you as good as your sister? And why aren't you this? And why aren't you that?" Those are the things that a lot of people don't understand. And it's just, it's a great problem to have. I'm not complaining by any means, because they're doing their job, and all 3 of them are going to do remarkable things. And shoot, Kinsey's going to have all kinds of opportunities. Addie and Riley are set. They're going to walk out of college debt-free, have a degree. They're going to play the game that they love with 12 to 14 other players, other young women that love doing what they do. So I guess I look at all of that stuff, and yeah, it was some pretty tough stuff. But shoot, coaching and parenting, that's okay. So it was tons of dynamics on the court, off the court. A lot of people don't understand the off the court stuff at home. Well, Travis, you kind of alluded to it, right? I mean, you get it. It's something that Chris, you know what? This is great. Travis, later on, when Chris's kids get to be a little bit older, you and I are going to go to one of his games, and we're just going to eat popcorn and watch. Just eat popcorn and watch, and just go ahead and be like, "Yep, I know that. I remember that. I remember that." It'd be tons of fun.
Yeah, there's a little of that stuff going on right now with my family for sure. Like I have a 10-year-old daughter. Right before a couple hours ago, she had to go and get shots up in the driveway, and she was not having it. She was just having one of those evenings, and I was like, "Whoa, not really sure I want to handle this." I was like, "Mom, what do you think?" She's like, "I don't want anything to do with that." So I had to leave them with my son to go to baseball, and then I came back, and my wife was like, "Well, I think it might have just been you, because when you left, she changed completely, and she went outside and got a bunch of shots up." I was like, "Okay, I don't know what I did, but yeah. I'm glad I left."
That's some of the best medicine, when you just leave and it gets better.
Yeah, for sure.
Coach, having 3 very high level basketball daughters, is every conversation at home, is it all hoops all the time, or do you guys sit down and watch The Grinch in December, or is it you're sitting down and you're watching film for the next game and review film and scout and everything?
Yes, good question. I failed as a father. 100% I failed as a father. They have never seen Hoosiers. That's it. I mean, they've never seen Hoosiers. I can't believe it. I still can't believe. I told them for the last several years, like, "Hey, we're going to watch this. You're going to watch through it, and there's all the phones are going to be in the kitchen, so you have to actually watch it." We never got to it. No, one of my rules is, when we get home, whether it's a practice, and I feel like they had a rough practice or a game and a rough game, my rule is I ask them, hey, do you want to talk about it? And it's totally up to them. If they don't want to talk about it, then I don't push. If they complain the next day or two, then I bring that up and I say, I told you I talked to you about it. I have an idea, but I'm only going to talk when you're ready. I don't twist their arms on that stuff. I want them to be well-rounded. I want them to be different kids, more than just basketball kids. I want them to experience all kinds of stuff. So that's our rule is, do you want to talk about it? And do you want to watch film? I'll show you a couple things of what I see. Of course, they still do the team stuff with all the team, but when we're alone and when we're doing our thing, it's just a little fun stuff. If anything, we have a basketball. If I were to turn my computer here, I'll show you. We have a basketball hoop that is about 7.5 feet in our living room, and that's kind of our release. We play horse in the living room. We do little things like that. We play one-on-one, and it's kind of fun. But other than that, I let them be kids.
You might have to get Hoosiers on the agenda for sometime this week. Tape a review, and we get a Ketterhagen family Hoosier movie review that we'll put out as part of the podcast.
That might be the most boring podcast ever, because I think all 4 of them are going to be sleeping by the end because they're used to all this like tremendous type stuff. They don't get it. So I think I'd spin the computer around and you'd see them all cashed out on the couch.
I bet they've seen Love and Basketball, though.
Well, yeah. The movie Love and Basketball?
Yeah.
I think one of them has seen it. I'm telling you, I'm a failure. I don't show them any of those movies. That goes to show you, I don't show them much of anything of those. And that might be why we need that break. So I think that maybe that's one of it.
So, one thing, switching gears a little bit, one thing that I think you do a great job of, I've been following for a lot of years now, something you even did, before you were at Oostburg too. And I got to hear you got to tell us about the shirt story the day before games where you wear the opposing team's shirts. We need to know a little bit about that and where it kind of came into fruition and why you do it.
Sure. So it started at Ozaki. Because, and I don't think I'm going to offend anyone at Ozaki, because those first couple teams would probably agree with me. We were terrible. I mean, we were terrible. And the program was in rough shape. So it was like, all right, how do you get a little bit of momentum? How do you have a little bit of fun? How do you spin a little bit? So I got a couple of community members in to be part of the coaching staff as well. Chris, Brad Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Brad was one of our on our staff, and Chad LeClaire and Jason Eipert and all them. So what we did was we started, and we were younger then too, so we could still play. And maybe that's why we were horrible. Maybe because we played with them. Maybe that's my fault. So anyway, we would go ahead and we would be our own scout team. So we would go and we kind of dress up. If we're playing Cedar Grove, we'd dress up in orange and we'd put tape on our back as the number and do that sort of thing. So then it evolved into everything. The game before, the practice before, I would dress up in that team's colors. I have my closet. Man, oh man, I think I have more opposing team shirts in my closet than I do have Oostburg shirts. So what I did, I did a couple trades. So I would go to like Kohler and Ken Rader at the time. I said, hey, I need a Kohler shirt. Can I trade you one? He goes, I don't want a Oostburg shirt. I go, or a Ozaki shirt. I said, all right, well, I want a Kohler shirt. They didn't have any clue what I was doing at that point. So I got all these shirts before that. And then one of the we do a Secret Santa for when I got to Oostburg. My first Secret Santa with the girls, it's like a $10, $15 gift. Well, I think I put like my wish list was like coffee or I don't know, some stupid stuff like that. Well, best gift ever. I got a Reedsville shirt off of Wiss Hoops. You know how you could go to Wiss Hoops and you go ahead and go to that school and get like a $10 t-shirt or whatever. So sure enough, I'm opening up my gift and it's Reedsville. I didn't have a Reedsville shirt at all. So it was like the best gift ever. And it's one of those things where I'll just continue to, like, every once in a while I'll get something at Goodwill and I'll kind of go through the rack and be like, well, we might play them, and I'll update my my wardrobe. And then if I don't have a shirt, I go ahead and I use our computer at school, and I blow up their logo, and then I print it off in color paper, and then I wear that shirt and I duct tape it to my chest, and I walk in the gym, and that's my shirt for the day. So it's something where it's
I always look forward to those posts on social media.
Oh, well, that's
hilarious.
Good. That's good. Oh, the girls love it because I walk in the gym and the whole place erupts in booing, and I know I did my job. So it lightens the mood. We have fun with it, and then we take a couple selfies at the end, and I get to work on my 0.5s, and then we call it a day.
What's the oldest shirt you got in the closet? If you've been doing this since all the way back in Ozaki, what is the first shirt that made its appearance at a practice?
Oh, that's a great question. Boy, I want to say, well, it's got to be one of the conference ones. I bet you it's either got to be Random Lake, because that was our big rival. Ozaki and Random Lake were big rivals. So it's got to be Random Lake. Oh, and I lived in Random Lake. So it was a Random Lake. I coached T-ball for my kids, like softball. So I had a legit Random Lake shirt, and it didn't have softball on it. It just had an RL. It was perfect. That's it. A Random Lake shirt.
Coach, hopping back into this past year just a little bit and going backwards in our interview a little bit, but your state tournament run, it's obviously year 2, the second year in a row. What's different in your approach and the team's approach and just kind of everything that week that goes into it? What did you notice that was different from last year to this year with regards to getting back to the rush and being there a second year in a row?
Present. We were totally present with it. We had 2 years ago, our first run was kind of like, we thought, if the ball rolls the right way, we might have a chance. And KML was an unbelievable game. It was so much fun. And we were both really good. And then the next game was Catholic Memorial, and that again was a really good game. After that, I reached out to a couple friends, and they gave me what they did a week, their state week. So what they did, how they prepped, all that stuff. It's something that I truly am thankful for. It was Mishkat, Mike Garceau, and Scott Williams who sent me that stuff, and I'm going to pay it forward. I know that getting there twice in a row these past 2 years is fantastic. I know it's not going to happen every year, but I think it's my job to pay that forward, to give someone a chance of like, hey, FYI, think about this, look at doing this. This is what we did, just to give them those ideas. So that the first year I got that information, I kind of stole what I wanted, which essentially, if you think about it, all of us coaches, we're just a bunch of thieves, right? We just have to steal the right stuff. So,
right.
So I stole what I wanted, and I made it our own, and then we went. And I think it was one of those things where it was really difficult because we thought, with the run that we just had and us beating KML and Catholic Memorial, we thought, we might get the 1 seed. I think we'll probably get the 1. And then we went in and got the 2, and then Laconia got the 3, and we were like, oh boy, I mean, that's a tough first round game. So we thought, you know what, no matter what, let's celebrate our season. We're going to go in thinking we're going to win, but we want these girls to understand what we just went through, even if we lose the semifinals. So what we did was we rented out the distillery after Laconia game. We said, no matter what, win or lose, we're going to go there. We're going to go ahead and celebrate our season. We're either going to celebrate and get back for Saturday, or celebrate and know that we did a great thing and go home. So I think that was one of the things that we decided to do that was really good. It was actually my wife's idea. I don't think she's in the room right now, but I want to give credit to Sarah. If she's ever listening right now, it's really good for me later on. So Sarah, that was Sarah's idea. So then when all of that happened, it was like, okay, we got into the media room 2 years ago after the state championship. And one of the first questions was, hey, coach, what are you going to do for round 2? You got everybody coming back minus a couple kids, but repeat. What are you going to do for your repeat? Like, have you thought about that? And I kind of laughed. I said, no, and I'm not going to. We are going to enjoy this. We are going to just really enjoy this. This was super, super hard. So that was when we beat Winneconne at Manitowoc for sectional finals. It was I wanted to be present in everything we did. So I enjoyed it. I had a ton of fun. State week. There was a little bit of pressure just because we were the coveted number 1, and we were kind of the underdog the year before. But it was something where it's like, hey, we kind of have saying and kind of things that we believe in, and we always say it's in God's hands, and all the kids believe that, and He knows the result. So we go ahead and even though we're a public school, we have a lot of kids who have a lot of faith. I think that helps. But I would say the biggest thing for the second year, we were present. We enjoyed it. We had a ton of fun. We knew what we could do if we stay loose and have fun. And if we didn't, that's okay too.
In that state tournament, both Riley and Addie got small little injuries that, took them out of each game, I think, and kind of nagged them. And you talked earlier about kind of just their competitiveness, their toughness. There was nothing that was keeping them off the floor in those games, even when they came off, correct?
No, there really wasn't. Actually, we were really concerned about Riley in that state championship game. But what a lot of people don't understand about Addie is it would have been last April in AAU. Addie went down and she had 2 tears, one in her abductor and one in her groin. And the only way to fix that was surgery. So she kind of sat out for 2 weeks. She played soccer. She was one of the captains for the soccer team last year. She played through it. She continued to play AAU ball, and she played with 2 tears in her groin and her abductor all this season. And they were like little nagging tears, but they never fully healed. So that's a lot of people don't understand that. She tweaked it pretty bad when Pewaukee came to our place. And that was like that might have ended her season. But I think Colton, you're right. She's so tough. She would basically say, wrap it tighter, I'm fine. Now, Riley, on that state championship game, we found out later on that she fractured her ankle and she ruptured all her tendons in her ankle. So she came back after halftime and played that second half. So we played a 1-1-3 zone, and that 1-1, they kind of like a yin and yang. It was always Kinsley and Macy. If those 2 are on top, we're really good. And we usually have Soraya or Taylor in the middle of that bottom 3. So we had Riley go in the bottom 3 because she couldn't move all that well. And she goes, Dad, I've never played the bottom of the 3. And we said, Riley, you can't move. You figure it out and go. Just play basketball. So we found out later on she had an MRI, and sure enough, she had that come back. And Sarah and I looked at each other like, oh, we thought Addie was our toughest kid. Riley really creeped up the toughness scale. So she doesn't have to have surgery. She's in the healing process. She's in a brace right now, and she's just getting on the basketball court now just to get some shots up. But she's coming back slowly, and she should be ready for the WBCA All-Star game. So she's excited for that.
Does that toughness come from Dad, or is that just all Mom's toughness?
All Mom. All Mom. I think she's over there. All Mom. All
if
Mom.
you say it loud enough, I was getting you, setting you up for that one. Good.
Thank you. I appreciate
that. You talked how back at Ozaki, you kind of this idea of the shirt game or the shirt practice was you would kind of play scout. Do you still hoop, whether it's in practice with the girls or men's league or anything? Are you still out there getting shots up, getting post moves up?
So post moves is what I can do, or just a still shooter. I will say this, and I want to make sure Addie and Kinsley aren't around, because Riley, after a state championship game, Riley was in a boot. So we went to Florida for spring break, and we went and found an outdoor court. So I promise you, I beat Addie one-on-one. She wouldn't talk to me for a little while. And I beat Kinsley one-on-one. I'm telling you, I hurt for like the next 2 weeks, but it was so worth it.
Chris is retired, he's told us. He's retired from playing any hoops.
Yeah, I think it's silly to move or try to move like that anymore. But I mean, yeah, standstill shooter. If I tell, we have the Dr. Dish in our gym, and it'll track, and it'll turn your colors either like red if you're not making shots, or yellow, or green if you're good. And I always make sure to show our guys that I am all green all the way around. I was like, I can stand here and shoot all day. I just can't move anymore.
Yep.
Coach, in the years that you've been doing this, what is one of your favorite coaches that you've gotten to go against across those sidelines? Or I guess we're always on the same sideline. So same sideline. Who do you look forward to, whether it's just you've had really good competitions in the past, or it's just a friend or something? Who have you really enjoyed going and coaching against in your tenure?
Well, that's a tough question. I don't think a lot of the conference coaches really like me, because there's plenty of times where the score is pretty lopsided. So I don't know if that's a good one at all. Tell you what, this last year against Winneconne, Troy is a fantastic. He's just a fantastic dude. I met him when they came to us second game of the year, and then we met them in the sectional finals, and he didn't change a bit. He was his same self. He knows the game. He coaches hard. He's really good to his players. He's really good to my players. I feel like I was the same way with his players and him and his coaching staff. Class act. I'd give him a lot of props there for the girls' side, and he's going to be super duper good next year. He should be fun. So we go there to Winneconne, and I hope that it's the same thing. And I don't hope it is going to be. He's a good dude, and I feel like I'm a good guy. So and it's basketball, right? So a loser in the end is okay. It's fine. That's life. Here's my dog.
Those pops.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the girls' side, more of a more recent one. The guys' side, when I was at Ozaki, we had Brett Flipsy from Sheboygan Christian. We were really good with each other, always kind of playing pranks on each other on the same sideline. And then before I came to Oostburg, I got to coach against Kevin Brigink. And right now he's our superintendent. So I got to coach against him, and then, of course, learn from him once I got to Oostburg, and got to be really good friends. We were good friends on the sidelines, but really good friends once I got to Oostburg. I would say those three people are three people I'll always remember coaching against. In
the game, are you getting more excited as a coach for an and one or a charge taken?
I think an and one. I think an and one is a lot more fun. Charges are. I mean, I'm a big defensive guy, so charges. I don't know if this is right or wrong, but it's kind of like, good job, you're in the right position. That's what we teach you, type thing. And ones are more like you're going in, and it depends how good it is, and depends how much contact there is, and that sort of thing. The part of the game. So yeah, I think the and ones are a little bit more fun.
So I've been doing this the last couple weeks where I'm asking AI. I go into AI, I type in your information. I say, hey, spit out a question for them for the podcast. And it's hit the last 2 weeks. Let's see if it goes 3 for 3. This is a unsponsored last segment that we do. It's an AI question that ChatGPT spit out. It's here's what it gave us. You've coached your own daughters to a state championship level, which is impressive. AI's giving you props, but also probably chaotic at times. Be honest, what's harder, drawing up a last-second play in a tight game or deciding who has to do the dishes at home after practice?
Oh, that's easy peasy. The last second shot is harder. Dishes is like, get home, you don't want to do dishes, you sit the bench next game. Like, that's easy.
Coach, I'd love to have you back on. We've already taken up 50 minutes of your time, and there's probably a 50 more minute conversation about a certain topic. We'd love to get you on sometime within the next couple months, if not a year. And something that you had mentioned on social media just about was the competitive balance and that tournament performance factor that is happening. So if we could set up another time and date here within the next couple months where we can get on that would be great, because I'd love to dive into that conversation with you. Apologies, we got long-winded today and didn't get into it.
No, that's okay. It's 100% my fault. I was the one that was rambling on every question. I was waiting for you guys to cut me off or like do one of these, like stop. So one of those, I'd love to. And it's one of those things where I think it's really cool to talk about, because I've now been on both sides, right? So you see some really good teams and you think, part of you thinks, oh man, thank goodness they'll be out of our way. And at the same time, you look at it and, man, most of those programs are doing it the right way. They're just doing it the right way. They're building from the ground up. They take their kids, they work with them from third grade on, and they do the right stuff. So you bet I'd love to be part of that.
Yeah. Fellas, anything left for Coach Ketterhagen before we let him go and enjoy his night?
No, thanks a lot for coming on. I appreciate it. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, you guys too. It's been fun.
Yeah, great stuff, Coach. Really appreciate it.
You bet.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Appreciate it, Coach, and enjoy this off season and the summer.
Hey, that sounds good. Thanks, fellas. I really appreciate you guys.
Back from that interview with Coach Ketterhagen, open, honest, raw. I appreciate that. That was some good stuff that we just got from him, guys.
Yeah, phenomenal person. I've known for a lot of years. I mean, geez, almost half my life. Had an opportunity to meet him through a mutual friend and Jamie Kep, and just a really great guy to get to know him and his wife through the years, and being friends with him on social media. It's been cool to see his daughters kind of grow up and become the people that they are, the basketball players that they are. Just no secret that that family is as successful as they are, because they've definitely put in the time in the work.
Guys, we're going to hop into our starting five, but before we do, let's talk about last week. We did NBA jerseys.
Hold on.
Oh, what is happening now, Chris?
I don't know, this guy.
Is he about to bust out a Grant Hill Detroit Pistons teal jersey? I feel it coming.
It's
Times have
definitely
shifted.
coming.
This is great podcasting, Trav.
Yeah, this is some cinema. Half the people that listen to our pod, there is no video, so you're gonna have to go over to YouTube.
That's true.
You're gonna have to go over to YouTube or TikTok just to get this.
Yeah, we should have prefaced some of that. Oh, he's got the Bucks jersey. That's not the one that was drafted, though, right?
What's that?
Oh, well, we didn't pre-say, hey, Jersey Day.
Let's just clarify that is a Ray Allen jersey. Is that correct, or is that a Giannis jersey?
Nope, that's a Ray Allen jersey. What
Love
does it say? Hardwood Classics, 2001, 2002.
That is the lone Bucks jersey or lone jersey in general that my wife owns. Is that exact one?
My son has it. Our brother has it. I think who else did? Our brother found this at TJ Maxx for like $35.
That's awesome. It's a steal.
He was texting us asking all of us if we wanted it. Colton, did you get one?
No, I got a Dame Lillard white one for $25 though.
So those of you that are listening and can't see it, he is wearing the purple Bucks across the chest Ray Allen jersey.
We were drafting those jerseys last week, and I was putting the graphics up. I'm like, oh man, people on Apple, people that are listening to this have no idea.
But
I mean, we kind of described them.
Like we did describe them pretty well.
Yeah, I think we did a good job of describing them.
But back to that, guys.
But hey, you just have to rewatch it. If you're listening on Spotify or something, just go to YouTube and watch that segment then.
I was ridiculed, chastised, dragged through the mud. There was an uproar in the streets for the Grant Hill Detroit Pistons teal jersey taken in the second round. And I'm going to tell you, the feedback I got, that reaction was limited to here on the baseline.
I read the comments on Twitter. They were in 100% agreement with us.
That's absolutely false.
Oh. Terrible jersey.
Anyways, I had a lot of fun with that. That was last week's. This week, guys, we're hopping into girls basketball teams since 2000. And we talked about this in the group chat. It's single season, right? Because there are going to be plenty of teams that you could take arguably the same team in 3 different years.
Same school, yeah.
Same school.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's been obviously there's been teams that have won 3 straight championships. There have been teams that have won multiple championships, 5 or 6 championships during that time. So yeah. There's a lot of different ways you could go, a lot of different opportunities. 2000 is a good round number to go from. It's also when the private schools join the WIAA, so you kind of have a little bit more comparison to go by. It's roughly the WSN/Bound era. Started in 2002, so most of that time has been covered by WSN or Bound, and a lot of information available. And of course, we can go back through the WIA archives as well. So, and that's when for us here and for maybe most of the people listening, because I'm guessing we trend towards a little older coach-driven audience as opposed to younger kids that were born well after 2000. It's a time frame that a lot of us have at least had some experience with or watched or whatever.
I'm worried about this one.
I started high school in the year 2000, and to give you a little bit more perspective, you just stated, obviously that that's when private schools came into the WIA. I mean, as a 14-year-old kid, do you think I knew that? Do you think I had any clue at all that even was a thing? Definitely.
I think it's an uphill battle for Chris and I in this one, simply because, Trav, I'm going to give you kudos. You have been an encyclopedia of Wisconsin sports for 20 plus years in our state. So we're coming in. We did our research, but you have all that research and more. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also in the same breath extremely worried.
I'm just hoping to surprise any of you guys with a pick that's like, oh damn, like knows what he's talking about.
So let's recap where we're at. I picked first last week, so now we are back to Chris with the first pick.
Yep.
And
then can I trade down?
You had the opportunity to trade last week.
Now I'm sitting here thinking about this, and I'm like, I'm going to make the world's worst pick to start it off, and I don't even. Oh man. Hey, I got this.
There's not a bad pick. These are all going to be great teams, right? Fellas, without further ado, this is the girls Wisconsin high school hoops teams post 2000. Chris, with the first pick in this week's draft, you are taking.
Well, I am going to, like I told you before, I'm going to kind of stick a little bit closer to where I know. And I just happen to coach at a school during a three-peat of state championships. And I'm going to start off with the 16-17 Beaver Dam team, who went 28-0 and had 8 scholarship kids on that team, I believe it was. That team was extremely fun to watch. And that was that was a really special season. Not obviously for them, but just for basketball in Beaver Dam as a whole. We both, the boys and the girls programs that year, started off 19-0, and we're both ranked number 1 in the state all at the same time, which was a lot of fun to be a part of in that community, being on the boys' side coaching. So that's kind of where I hold my heart here on that first pick. And those girls were so talented.
That was that the first of 3?
Yep.
Right? Could have been 4, but COVID derailed that final season. But I mean, Beaver Dam, that group, it was one of those where we talked about you could take of those 3, and who knows, one of those other years might get taken, but that's one of those 3-peat years that it's like, oh yeah.
Did I do okay? Travis, did I do okay?
Yeah.
All right. I got approval from the big guy, so we're doing okay so far.
I am going to take the 23 Notre Dame team. It was the third of a 3-peat. If you look at who was on that team, Trista Fado was a junior on that team. She went to Illinois State. Gracie Greshik went to Wisconsin, and then to Green Bay. Sydney Whitehouse went to Northern Michigan. Peyton Musial was at Bucknell. Kai Waldrop, who who is a senior this year, Grand Valley State. That was the third of their 3 straight state championships. And Hope Barrington was also on that team. She was a senior, the senior leader of that group. So very happy to get the 22-23 Notre Dame group as the 2 pick.
All right. I have 2 picks coming back, and that allows me to get my top overall pick. And I tried to factor in a lot of different things, right? Trying to eliminate recency bias, trying to eliminate like historical bias as well, because sometimes there's a tendency to kind of romanticize, older groups or older teams or things from when you were younger, whatever. But I will land on the 2026 Oostburg Lady Dutch. I don't know, and nobody knows, right? Like if you put this team head to head against another team, against that Beaver Dam team, against the Notre Dame team, I don't know if they win those games. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But what I do know is, as we talked about with Coach Ketterhagen, I don't think that you can have a more impressive resume than what this year's Oostburg team had. Again, let's run through it. They beat the Division I state champion Arrowhead team. They beat the D1 semifinalist as well, Pewaukee and Notre Dame. They beat D2 champion Whitefish Bay, D2 runner-up Beaver Dam, D3 runner-up Wisconsin Dells, D3 semifinalist Mosinee, D4 semifinalist
St. Mary Catholic.
St. Mary Catholic. They also beat Appleton East. They also beat Winneconne. They also beat Wisconsin Lutheran. They beat Whitefish Bay. Beat Whitefish Bay. They beat Winneconne twice. Like Stevens Point. The resume that they had, I just don't know that you can compare. Again, I don't know if they win head to head. Again, smaller school, everything else that goes into it. But what I do know is that resume is hard to beat, and so that's why that's my top overall in the team that I am taking here in the first round.
It's very tough to argue that, especially, I mean, we went over it with Isaiah. That resume alone, and to finish it unblemished is pretty impressive.
Yeah, you can't argue against it for sure. I mean, I think that team was on all of our lists at the top, towards the top. So,
I'm going a little bit off my board, and I'll tell you why later when we're done. But I will go next. When you talk about girls basketball since the year 2000, and every time I or someone here says that, all I think of is the Conan O'Brien skit, by the way. Are you too young?
Familiar.
Oh my gosh, look it up later. We won't dwell on it now. But you can't talk about girls basketball in this era without talking about Misty Bass and what she did at Janesville Parker. 3-time Ms. Basketball selection, led to a change in the rules. I'm going to go with the 2000 Janesville Parker team. That is actually her sophomore year.
Is that
So that'd be
99 000?
2000.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, I feel like I'm doing great here because like that was the top of my list too. Jeez.
Yeah.
Maybe I know this better than I thought.
Yeah. So you had Misty Bass as a sophomore win Ms. Basketball. They went 27-0. One of the reasons I went with this group, not only were they undefeated, that was the only year they were undefeated in her tenure, but Nia Geschke was also a standout player for them. She had an outstanding career at UW Whitewater, so really provided another complementary player for them. And it was part of an incredible run for Janesville Parker under Tom Claviter. You go back to the 90s when Jenna Burkhalter was there, and then a second run with Misty Bass. They won it in 2000 as undefeated. They won it again in 2001. We're not undefeated that year. They did not win it, though, her senior year in 2002. They lost in the semifinals. And then, surprisingly enough, they missed in 2003 after she graduated, but then they made it every year from 04 to 06. So, again, goes to show the quality of program that Coach Claviter had there for a long, long time. But again, that's the one I landed on. Again, you could pick a couple of those Parker teams in there, but I went 99 to 2000 Janesville.
That was with my not as great of knowledge in the early part of the 2000s. That was the one that I was hoping to get to make it look like I knew what I was talking about from the early 2000s.
So my first two picks were the most recent year and the oldest year of our eligibility.
But they work.
Trav is just going to destroy us, and he's sandwiching the picks.
No, we got this. We got this. We're okay.
All right.
I like my first pick.
My next pick, and it's going to be another one that was recent, but I talked about that Notre Dame team, and the team that couldn't get past them for the longest time in D2 was Pewaukee. And then in 23-24, Pewaukee does it. They beat that Notre Dame team who we listed off who was on that team from 22-23. Those same girls were on the team in 23-24. So Pewaukee beats them. The only loss that they had was to out-of-state Nazareth from Illinois. Obviously on that team, they go 29-1 on that team are the Terrian twins who are at Michigan State. Giselle Janowski, who's headed to Wisconsin, and then Kylie Piper was on that team too. But yeah, you talk about a team in my mind where I thought Notre Dame was a no-brainer first-round pick, the team that knocks them off the very next year I had to take.
Solid pick. I'll tell you, I had the Notre Dame pick was on my list very, very highly, and the Pewaukee pick very, very highly, right in the area that you have taken them. So
swing pick.
All right, let's see. Next up for me, I'm actually going to go with the. Oh man, this is hard. I thought I would have at least one of those three picks that just happened here.
You should do Homer and just take all three of those Beaver Dam picks. Just go all straight down the line.
Well, I could. I mean,
and you wouldn't be wrong. That's
in 16-17, like Maddie Wilkie wasn't even there yet.
I know.
So, I'll tell you, Chris. I'll tell you that my second overall was Beaver Dam 2018-19. That's the one.
You can still take it.
Yeah, that team was really good too. My God. So I am going to, for a lot of the reasons, I guess, like, oh, man, I just am so torn between things right now, what I want to do.
You have two picks.
I know, but there's a lot of things here. Okay, I am going to go with that. I'm going to go with 25-26 Arrowhead team. They were 24-2. Their only loss on the year were to Tosa East and Oostburg, and then they obviously were able to win the second time around, right? So I'm going to go with them, and then I am going to take the 18-19 Beaver Dam team as well. I'm telling you, being up close and personal to some of those teams, to those three teams that won 3 in a row, like it is tremendous, the amount of talent that were on those teams. I mean, I talked about the 16-7 team. I mean, how many teams have ever had 8 scholarship kids on their roster? And they continued to do that for multiple years.
That 18-19 team had Tara Stoffaker at Wisconsin.
Yep.
Allie Van Loo, North Dakota. Paige Schumann, Belmont. Jada Donaldson, Milwaukee. Maddie Wilkie, Wisconsin. Natalie Jens went to Moorhead, and then Paige Hodgkins, Northern Kentucky.
Well,
so,
and I have a lot of personal I have ties to all those kids, right? And I know all those for the most part. I know all those kids pretty well, and Paige Schumann's brother, I coached Anthony, and he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. So I just have a lot of bias, I guess, to that. Like I talked about before, is going to happen, but I mean that team was loaded as well. So I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing very well. That was a very good state championship game. They took on Monroe, who didn't have the greatest record. It ended up being a little bit of a blowout, but it was Sydney Hilliard on that Monroe team who was going to Wisconsin, going against Beaver Dam, who had Tara Stoffaker, who was going to Wisconsin, Maddie Wilkie, who was going to Wisconsin. There was a lot of really good reasons to be excited about that state championship game. In addition to being a great dominant team in Beaver Dam.
And to touch base on that second round pick too, the Arrowhead team from this last year. I mean, they lost to Trav's #1 overall in this 2000s, right? And then they avenged the only other loss that they had on the year.
Yeah, and I had an opportunity to see those girls play against at Hartford this year, and man, they're a load. Everything they did, on the floor, offensively, defensively, their physicality, their athleticism, their shooting ability, and Natalie Cuso, right? Just tremendous talent. Really fun to watch team.
Mine, I'm going with another more recent one, and this is one that happened in a year where COVID decided to end it, so they couldn't finish that season off. But it was a team that had really good runs through years for this, and I think that this was the best team of that, and that is the 2019-2020 Aquinas Blue Golds. They were 25-1 at the time of the season ending. Their only loss was to Hopkins out of Minnesota. And on that team, you had Lexi Donarski, who went to Iowa State, was freshman of the year in the Big 12. She finished her career at North Carolina. Courtney Becker went to Drake. Taylor Thish, J.C. Weisbrod, Macy Donarski. You talk about if we're looking at dominant, that team was dominant in the state of Wisconsin.
Was that wasn't when Paige Beckers was there, was it?
It might have been, yeah.
Did she went to Hopkins, right?
When you looked at the scores of that Aquinas team in the regular season too, they were just beating teams, and having COVID. COVID canceled the season for a couple really good teams that year that had a chance to get on this.
Yeah, Beckers was on that team for sure because she was ranked the #1 high school recruit in 2020.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really good storylines that year that we lost out on. We lost out on Beaver Dam going for 4 straight. We lost out on Aquinas going for a really historic type of season. Yeah, a lot of really good things that we lost out on that year.
Yeah. Trav, you got 2 here.
All right. Well, I am going to go with one that you guys maybe didn't even have on your board, but it is one of the most dominant runs and teams that we've seen, and it's the 2012 New London Bulldogs. That was the first of 2. The second of 2 that they won. That was part of during a 68-game winning streak that they had. Looking at the players on that team, Tara Knapstein was an All-State player and a D1 player. Bridget Petke, another All-State Division I type player. They beat New Berlin Eisenhower in the championship game, who had Nicole Bauman, Jenny Weiland, really good team. So you talk just a dominant run. They're right up there with any that we have seen.
Yeah.
Again, 68 games that they were winning or that they won during that stretch. I think they lost. They might have lost in either the semifinals or maybe sectionals the following year. state semifinals. They lost to Eisenhower in a rematch, a 1-point game. So, all right. I've got two that I really, really want to take. Both have great stories. I think I'm going to go with this one, which actually leapfrogs, but I think maybe I'll get the other one. There are so many options that we could go with when we're talking about Cuba City. They have won 12 state titles. There have been 4 different coaches that have won state titles at Cuba City. Just an incredible run that they have had over the years. And as I researched this, I really had a hard time picking which Cuba City team, because I knew I wanted one on there. I mean, they've been so dominant. The 2007 Cuba City team was the end of a three-peat.
That was my next pick.
Okay,
we'll pick someone else,
because again, that was the last of 3 straight. They won. They outscored opponents that year 1,839 to 770. So they more than doubled up their opponents that year. And that was a team that had a lot of familiar names. As you talk about, Cuba City basketball, there was 2 of Jeff Pustina's daughters on that team. There was Brianna Kaiser, Tammy Gleason, Molly Moore, Anna Frederick. There was a Dressler, a Wallenhorst, a Langmeyer, like every Cuba City name that you could think of over the last 30 plus years, 40 plus years, minus maybe a Timmerman, was on that team. So completely dominant throughout the year. They won the championship game over Amherst 70-28.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's, Division III, but you talk level of dominance, more than doubling up your opponents. I'll go with Cuba City 2007.
Yeah, that's a great pick. And like you said, and honestly, like a lot of these teams that we're picking the year is almost as difficult as picking the team.
Yeah, it's true.
We're picking the season, and it's like,
right.
Well, which one?
Yeah, because there's a lot of these schools that have back-to-back or three-peats or whatever it might be, and you're just like, man, which one's better?
Well, mine's going to look not near as well seasoned because my early round pick was taken, but I'm going to zig then, and I'm going to take the 2020-2021 Germantown team that had KK Arnold was on that team, Jalen Acker, Natalie Pascal. They went 29-1, state champs in D1. The state got to see KK Arnold on the big stage, so pretty dominant that year, coming out of COVID. But yeah, that's when you're that dominant and you have one of the best players to come out of the state in the last possibly ever. It's a recipe to be picked here.
And I think we've talked about it before. That was obviously the unique year of how the state championships were structured.
Yep.
So that game or those games were at the Hurt Arena in Oshkosh. I was up there and covered those ones. And again, the entire Division I happened in one day. You had both semifinal games early in the day and then the championship game late. And kind of a unique situation, obviously, and dominating team again with KK Arnold. So good, solid pick.
All right, I think I got mine.
I hope so.
I did have that Germantown team on my list for sure, but I think that they were a little bit lower than the 2 teams that I have here. And I think, Travis, you might be able to shed a little bit more information potentially on this, but just from looking at some things and doing a little research, I'm going to go with the 02-03 Oshkosh West team. It's the first of, I believe it's the first of their back-to-back state championships and the start of 70 consecutive wins for their program. And it was kind of like the which team do you pick type thing, but I feel like I kind of resort back to like where did things start, and I kind of like the idea of that. So you talk about an undefeated team. It won all 3 state games by 30 plus.
Oofta.
And including giving up 28, 32, and 27 in the 3 games at state. So that's kind of where I had an outlier there for just like, hey man, pretty darn good team. I don't know, Travis, do you remember that team at all?
Not really. That was before I joined WSN. I remember a little bit. I mean, Meredith Onsen was the star player for that group. Really, really good player. Was inducted in the WBCA Hall of Fame just a couple of years ago, I believe. So absolutely. I mean, a undefeated Division I team that had won back to back. You can't go wrong there.
And then my last one, I'm a big, I believe in like best teams and like where they go from there type thing. I'm going to finish off with the 2010-2011 Nicolay team. I believe all five of their starters were scholarship kids, two of them being Division I. They were 26-2 that year. Just a really good all-around team who made it happen, obviously, with Green and Cohen and Fair and Bronson, to name a few of those players. I know Vinny Daniels will be proud of that pick for me giving that one out.
That was on my list as well in my top 15. That was an interesting year because that was the first year of 5 divisions, and I believe that they opted up to Division I that year. I think they and Pius had opted up to Division I to stay in Division I. They had traditionally been D1. And so I think that they actually opted up to stay in D1 that year. But you're right. That was an outstanding team. I think, was it Green or Fair were underclassmen. The rest were seniors. But Alex Cohen, she went to, I want to say an Ivy League school maybe, or somewhere out east. And then, they had a bunch of guards, Green, Fair, Courtney Smith, that were just dynamic and a big kind of a pain in the butt for opposition, in a really, really outstanding team. Watched them for 2 games, I guess it would have been at that time at State.
Yeah, she was, I think it was like she went to Northwestern.
Okay. Harvard or the Midwest?
Northwestern. Yeah, for sure.
My last pick, and this is one that I want to give a little love to the small town school teams that, a lot of these other teams have the D1 kids, the scholarship kids, and actually this one does too. And it's going back to that COVID year because this team was another one of those dominant teams that didn't get a chance to see the end of their run come to fruition, and that is the 2019-2020 Blackhawk team. When you look at that team, it had the Butler girl, Hannah Butler, was the senior. Natalie Lusinger, she was a walk-on at Wisconsin. Bailey Butler, I think, was just a sophomore with that group, and she went on to play at Green Bay. She was, I think, a 4-year starter at Green Bay, maybe. But if you look at like what they did, granted, they're not playing, the same schedule, but they were equally dominant where they played one single-digit game throughout that whole year. On a tear. Their playoff games were won by 56, 57, 17, and then 47 in the sectional final. So this was a Blackhawk team that had they won the state championship before that, and this is kind of the
year before.
Yeah, and this was
undefeated the year before, in fact.
And this is you could have easily have taken that team, but that whole team also came back in 29-20 and was equally dominant, just didn't get to end it. So that finishes out. I'm happy to get that in the 5th round.
It's a little crazy just how many games that I saw at State, and I'm not saying you're wrong for this by any means, but to have a Blackhawk team that did not have one of the Wellnets girls on it just seems kind of odd. Given it seemed like I guess it wasn't even that many times they made it to State. They made it they made it 7 times since 2009. So 7 times that I've been covering. Seemed like they were there all the time with the Wellnets girls. Not only Jen Wellnets, who's now the coach at Argyle Pecatonica, but her older sisters as well.
Yeah.
But they didn't win it until 2018. That was the first time that they had won it. But yeah, as many times as I watched the Wellnets at State with Blackhawk, it seems odd that it's not one of those teams.
Yeah. Trav,
what do you got for us?
What's our last pick?
It's the one that I was actually debating over before, and like I said, I ended up getting it. In the early 2000s, well, for many years, let's be honest, the Milwaukee City Conference produced some really, really good teams. We think of it now, and unfortunately, it's just in a bad spot for many sports, but basketball especially. And we talk about the seeding process and the seeding formula and how the MPS schools kind of skew some things and are outliers and all that other stuff. People forget back in the day that was the conference or one of the conferences in the state.
Yeah.
And there was a run there for a number of years where the Milwaukee City Conference was producing state championship level teams, and it kind of culminated in 2009 when Milwaukee Vincent and Milwaukee King met in a state championship game. I remember that vividly. There was a lot of talk and discussion about it being two Milwaukee teams meeting for the state championship, and it was a really cool environment, like they're rivals and everything. But I remember after the game, Vincent ended up winning by 1 point over King, and they went out and everybody held hands at half court and took a bow, and it was really cool to see that level of just recognition of, hey, we did some cool stuff. They were really proud to represent the city of Milwaukee, and they were really good at basketball. That 2009 team that I'm taking had Nicole Griffin on it as kind of the standout player.
Yeah,
she was one of those not early necessarily, but you talk about Enrique and KK and Ellie Zabel and these girls now. She was that level back then. She was a national level recruit very, very early on. Ended up going to Oklahoma, and just a 6'6" girl that you just don't see very often in girls basketball. But they had really good girls around her. Tiara Martin was a really good player for them. Shalon Landry, Marcus Landry's sister, actually led them in scoring in the state championship game. And so there was a good group around Nicole Griffin, but she was certainly kind of the headliner of that group. And again, that state championship game was really special. Milwaukee King had Serena Simmons, who was a D1 player. Jasmine Reynolds was really good. Rachel Story was a Division I player. I think she went to Louisville, I want to say. And I can't remember if she's back. I want to say she's back coaching.
I
can't remember at the high school level or maybe even at the college level. She might be an assistant somewhere. But again, it was just a great environment with those two teams. And again, the end of a three-peat for Milwaukee Vincent. Marquise Hines was the head coach for that run. So that closes out our draft. That closes out my picks with the 2009 Milwaukee Vincent Vikings.
Yeah, I had that Vincent team on and was debating between them in that last pick, but you're right. King and Vincent back in the mid to early 2000s, they had really good runs back then.
Craig Mahout was the King coach at that time. I can't remember where he's at now. I think he's an assistant somewhere, but I can't remember where now.
There's a lot of really good teams that we left off.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I only had one state runner-up team on my board, and it was the 23-24 Notre Dame team. I mean, they lost to Pewaukee twice, first game and state championship, but you can't, it's tough to take them over Pewaukee, right? Or in the same draft.
Another runner-up team was this year's Tosa East team too.
Yeah.
That you could have really put into perspective.
If Tosa East wins that game, they're probably a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
They would have been undefeated, winning a second state championship with really, really talented players. I mean, that hate to say it and hope we don't anger Coach Merg too much, but I did have Tosa East 2025 on my list. I tried to my initial top 15 that I did, I went with 1 year for each team. I had some others in the honorable mentions, but that's one that one game against Arrowhead, if things go differently, talking about them as a top 5.
Yeah, I had the 16-17 Appleton North team that went 28-0. They were a kind of muck it up type team, right? That would play really slow and do things that way, right? But I mean, you go 28-0 and win a state championship, you're doing something right.
Yeah, and that was the first of 2 straight for them. Sydney Levy was the standout player on that squad. One of the things I always remember about that Appleton North run, and I can't remember if it was that year or the next year. That was the year. I don't know if you guys remember. Sydney's younger sister tried to run out on the court after the game, and
there was
a big controversy because they wouldn't let her out there. I think Deb Hauser wouldn't let her out there, and there was a lot of really negative comments and even national type attention around that story.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she went and got pictures after the game, and I think even in the locker room area, and it was perfectly fine, but it got blown way out of proportion. It was right around the same time as the airball national fiasco.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad for Deb Hauser, who I got a chance to see recently at the girls' state tournament. Actually, they did some recognition, and she did not deserve the vitriol that she got over that because it was filmed and it got posted online. And so that's one of the things I remember about that group. But that was an outstanding group. Anytime you go undefeated and win a Division I state title, and you're in the FBA, you're in the conversation for greatness.
Couple more recent ones that I had. You talked 24-25 Tosa East. The 24-25 Kimberly team was really good. 29-1. Caitlin McGinnis, Ava Van Vonderen, like that's a really good group that won the D1 state championship. If you look at some smaller school teams that have done really well recently, in 2021-22, you had the 31-0 Randolph girls that I think they're the only team to this point that have won 31 games ever. They were the first team to win 30 games, I believe, and they won 31 because in D5 they played that extra game. Mm-hmm. And then in that same year, Mineral Point went 30-0. They had, Mallory Lindsay, Ella Chambers. That was a really good group, and they were D4 state champs. And then the last kind of small school one in the last 10 years, well, I guess it's 12 now, that Barneveld group back where Maya Whitish, Hannah Whitish, Rachel Slaney was there. In 2014, 2015, they went 27-1. Their only loss was a 1-point game to Assumption, who they beat by 16 in the D5 state championship that year.
Yeah, you could go with a number of Barneveld teams. I had the previous Barneveld team, the 2014 team on my list. Staying with some other small schools. Again, you could pick a number of Cuba City teams. Assumption, you mentioned, has had a number of state championship type teams. Newman Catholic had really, really good teams in the early 2010s.
Flambeau.
And Neilsville as well.
Yeah.
Their team in 2012 with Jenny Lindner and a really good group around her. I mean, they were defensive oriented. You talked about kind of slowing the game down and being just dominant defensively. That's what they did. They allowed, I'm pretty sure it was in the low 30s for points per game. They were undefeated. That's another small school one you could throw on there. I'm really kind of shocked that nobody had Arike and DSHA in their draft. I had them on my board, did not get to them, but a little surprised we didn't get there. They did have a couple losses during the regular season, and of course, her double nickel in the state championship game against Middleton is arguably one of the most memorable moments and performances during this 26, 27 year, whatever period that we're talking about. But you could have them in the mix. Again, they did have a couple losses though. The other one that I had, Colton, did you take one of the Aquinas teams? You took Aquinas.
Yeah, I took 1920, the COVID year.
Okay. Yeah, I took Aquinas in 2018. They were undefeated that year. They won it again in 2019. A lot of those girls were on that team. Donarski, Courtney Becker. They also had Kaya Steiner, Modessa Collins, Jessa Peterson, Taylor Touche, Kayla Barr. That was a loaded group as well. The other one that I'll throw out there, I mentioned a little bit earlier when we were talking about Nicolay, the Pius team in 2010 was the last year of 4 divisions. They were 26-3, won the D1 state title. Kelly Frings was an outstanding D1 player. Julia Basari, the Bender twins, Terry and Tiara were really, really good. And
shout out Kelly Frings. She's the assistant AD at Hartford.
Is she? Okay. I don't know if I knew that.
She's the best.
Yeah, and then Kettle Moraine won 2 straight state titles in Division
Yep.
One, and we haven't even mentioned them yet. And that's a really difficult accomplishment. So that's another one we got to throw in the mix.
Going
Yeah.
back.
Sorry, Kelly. I know that you listen to our podcast. I'm sorry I didn't draft your team. You were
Going
on my
back.
list, though. You were.
Going back, even looking at some of those smaller schools back in the early 2000s, Flambeau three-peated. Now, is it a necessarily a standout season? I don't know, but to three-peat is pretty impressive. Columbus won. Did they win 3 in a row from 2002 to 2004, or was it just the 2 in a row?
They won 2 in a row. In Division 2 as well. And that's, I mean, they were a smaller Division 2 school.
Yeah.
Colton, our sisters would run into them every once in a while. And
Yeah.
I mean, row teams, they had really, really good teams during that time as well under Kevin Keene.
Let's go down the list quick before we get out of here. Again, these are the, however you want to phrase it. I think when we were talking, it was either best or most dominant girls basketball teams in the state since 2000. Chris, who had the first pick, he went with the 2016-17 Beaver Dam. He then went 25-26 Arrowhead, 18-19 Beaver Dam, 02-03 Oshkosh West, 10-11 Nicolet. Colton, myself, went 22-23 Notre Dame, 23-24 Pewaukee, 19-20 Aquinas, 20-21 Germantown, and 19-20 Blackhawk.
Colton, what was your third round pick?
Travis went 25-26 Oostburg, 1990 to 2000 Janesville Parker, 11-12 New London, 06-07 Cuba City, and 08-09 Milwaukee Vincent. Fellas, anything else before we sign off? All right, Trav, get us out of here.
To the baseline. Let's go. Knock it down, Ray Allen.